Alright, so we just shot our 39th week video, all of 2 seconds ago. So now, like I said, we kind of want to roll this into our hospital video. I didn't want to put them in on the same video because it would have been like a 20-minute video and no one wants to sit down and watch a 20-minute video. So as we left off, like I said, it happened this past Tuesday night, technically Wednesday morning. Jen's water broke. Called the doctors, called the hospital, and they told us to come on down. Now, like Jen said before, my timeline is apparently off from her timeline. So
made up timeline.
I don't know. I thought I had the right times, but apparently not. So I'm gonna let her take over and talk about everything that happened.
Yeah, so we left here at 1:15 in the morning. We stopped at the Quick Check right by the hospital for gas, just to be safe. So it took us a little over the 7-minute mark because he got gas and I wanted gum to have in the hospital room.
Well, it was kind of nice, you know, after your water broke, we're heading down. People were like, oh, you stopped to get gas? Why did you do that? You weren't having any contractions.
No, I felt really good actually.
Yeah, it was weird.
Besides for like feeling the leak, which you really, like, I thought it was like one time and done. Like, it was 2 big gushes. The second gush was much more. And then, like, seriously, you feel like it dripping out of you. So even when I got dressed after the shower, I was like, I need a very long hoodie of yours. Because, yes, you know, everybody says, oh, hospital people don't care. And they truly are amazing, which I gotta just say that now. But it's still like, you don't want to be walking in a hospital and be leaving like puddles and people looking at you and they see wetness. It's still a gross feeling. So we kind of got upstairs because we had a register in the hospital. We were in the maternity ward, I would say, by like 1:35. And what I was picturing was very different than how it was. I thought I was going to see our doctor right away. Not what happens. I was definitely thinking Hollywood, movie, TV type of things. Yeah, no. But the nurse was really sweet and she helped calm me down. And they did like a dilation check. They did actually test to see if it was actually my water that did break or something else.
It's like a pH level test they do, and
so within like
everything.
Basically a half hour, I was hooked up on monitors. I found out my water definitely did break, which is when Keith went to get the bags. And I wasn't even at a fingertip dilation yet. So
very technical term there. Fingertip.
It really hurt. It was very messy. And I was like, okay, so it's like 2:15. I was like, so can I eat? And the nurse was like, I don't think so, but I'll ask. Yeah. I never ate. I did have Jell-O.
Mm-hmm. It was basically like they call it like a clear diet. So like Jell-O's not really clear, but like Jell-O and water, and that was pretty much it.
So they were like, you know, your doctor's going to give you basically like not quite 5 hours to see if you can start laboring on your own. Because at this point it was like 2 o'clock, a little after. She wants you, if you're feeling up to it, to go for a walk. Well, the walk in the hospital, it's a very small like maternity ward. So it's like point A to point B, point A to point B. So after like 10 minutes of doing that, and it was close to 3, I was like, yeah, I'm over this. So we went back to our room.
You tried to sleep at that point.
Well, you did sleep. He was snoring like a you-know-what.
Yeah, that.
And I guess it was just my anxiety. No matter what I did, I was not sleeping. I was starting to feel very, very, very minimal crampage at that point, but it wasn't keeping me up. I just couldn't sleep. I was kind of looking at him, getting angry because he was snoring. I got up a few times to pee, and then around 5:20 was the last time I actually noticed the time. So I fell asleep between 5:20 and 5:45, which is when my doctor did come in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Keith was still asleep. She did a dilation check herself, and I did not increase at all. There were no contractions really going on. So at that point, it was decided that they were going to do a Pitocin drip, which is basically getting induced.
To help move everything along.
Because she said, when your water breaks, you really have 24 hours. That's her kind of rule of thumb. I know every doctor, every hospital could be different. But she definitely wanted me to start laboring. So we started the Pitocin at exactly 6 a.m. By 7:30, I was starting to have some real crampage.
Yeah, the contractions really started kicking in. They're pretty constant. Ow. Sorry.
I had a Tootsie Pop that I was able to lick. I couldn't eat the Tootsie, but I went through 2 of those. And they started me on the pain.
Stadol, I don't know.
Well, whatever it was.
It was some heavy duty stuff.
I was literally able to fall asleep within probably a minute and a half for an hour.
It was funny watching her. She was talking to the nurse and you get all loopy and your eyes got all glazed over. Like she was high. It was just...
That's exactly how I felt. But it only lasted with being able to sleep an hour. Then I woke up because the cramps were really bad. And at that point they were no longer cramps. They were contractions. So they shot me up again, through my IV. And it's supposed to, they said 2 hours per time, but it was really only lasting an hour. And then around 10:45, 10:50, I had another dilation check by the nurse. And at that point, it was not even you're
barely, you're 1.
Yeah, it was very, very slow. But the day nurse was now on with me, and her name was Michelle. Fabulous. So incredible. And she just said, I know we were talking about an epidural, but the anesthesiologist is actually on the floor. Do you want to get the epidural now? So I was first confused because you hear everybody say, you have to be at a certain point for the epidural. But she explained that when you're induced with Pitocin, all rules are kind of washed away. So I was yeah, let's start the epidural.
That was like 12-ish?
Well, this was the process started, and then I would say the epidural was literally in my back, ready to go by 11:45. They made him leave, which was okay. She was holding my hands and everything. The anesthesiologist said I was a champ, said I didn't move at all, and I was able to fall asleep for a good hour and 15 minutes then.
They were actually surprised, Michelle, the nurse, because she was at a 26 on Pitocin, I guess the level, and she goes, most people are screaming in pain, cursing her out, but she was just calm, a little discomfort, it seemed like. Obviously there's more discomfort inside. So she was actually surprised that she waited that long to actually get the epidural.
Yeah, our friends actually were visiting. They brought Keith lunch.
Starving.
So he ate pizza, and then they came in to see me. And at that point, I had the epidural, so I was kind of loopy. I definitely remember them both being there. I remember talking to them and everything. But I started not being able to feel pretty much anything from the waist down, which is a really surreal feeling. At that, I couldn't stand up at that point, obviously, no going to the bathroom. So I got checked at about a little after 1, and I was at 2. So in my own head, I started thinking, okay, if I'm at 2, I'm probably not having this baby till midnight or later.
So the doctor even said probably dinner time, late tonight. So we're expecting for the long haul, it's going to be a while.
Yeah, I started also thinking they were going to have to do a section because my body wasn't cooperating, which I was fine about. All I cared about was her safety. And at this point, we didn't know it was a her, so it was either his safety or her safety. But by 2:45, they did another check because my contractions were definitely more regular. They were definitely extremely uncomfortable. And I'll never forget, Michelle was like, we have head. She was like, legit, the head is right here. She's like, you went from 2 to full on 10 within like an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah, it was quick. She was just shocked. She couldn't believe how fast it went.
So at that point, they called our doctor, Dr. Uzbey, and she was like, yeah, we're gonna get ready to have a baby. And I was like,
now.
wait, what? Like, I was kind of confused, I guess you can say. And they had my mother-in-law step out. She was visiting by that point. And he called my mom to be like, yeah, you know, it's gonna happen. And she was actually at my sister's picking up my turkey that we qualified for at ShopRite. My sister went and got it because it was the last day to collect it. So my mom came over, but at this point we were in active labor, so I did not see her. The doctor got there around 3:15, and we were already actually pushing, like, to see what I was capable of.
Like a test push, they called it.
So then, after the first one, I actually said to Michelle, is this for real now? Like, am I really pushing? And I remember her being like, yeah, this is for real. I pictured it very different.
You know, it went from like, you were waiting till the end of the night to, okay, it's go time, let's do this. But the way they run things there, everything was so calm, everything was relaxed. There was never any, like, concern, like, you know, oh my God, what are we doing? What are we going to do? You know, they basically held our hand the entire time and, you know, showed us what we were going to do here, what we're going to do here. And it was just so, I'm not going to say peaceful, but it was, like I said, calm. You know, it wasn't like anything we thought it would be like.
Even when they were like, oh, it's go time, they got the room ready. But it wasn't like I went from that room to a different room. A very scary looking operating room, to say. Like, a big light came out of the ceiling. They wheeled a table in. It was covered literally until the doctor needed it uncovered. It was still a very surreal, peaceful experience.
Yeah.
Which overall, like, is nice. It helped calm me. And the tech who was with us, who was Michelle's tech, was named Jenna, and she was fabulous too. We're sitting there in between contractions and pushing, and they're like, we're just having normal conversations. I thought he was going to have to get in scrubs, and they were going to make me take off for my jewelry.
No.
Completely different. So when we were actually pushing, like, I was fully at 10. They kept seeing the baby's head. My body decided to start slowing down the contractions. So my body was actually working against natural labor. So they actually, the doctor had to decrease my epidural a little bit to try to make the contractions happen more regularly.
And so you actually could feel what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't feel a thing.
But I really couldn't. So they were like, okay, we're going to assist you, and we're going to use a kiwi. So,
well, she basically said is, you know, we're going to give you one more try. You know, if the baby doesn't come out, then yeah, we're going to use a kiwi, aka suction cup, which I guess is pretty common. A tool. It's not like, you know, random thing. But she goes, you know, we can do this, or, you know, you could push for 45 more minutes or an hour later, and they'll be exactly in the same spot that we are now. So it's kind of like, do we just go ahead and do this, or do we just wait and tire her out and make things worse? So they looked at this little disc, stuck it in, little back of her head, and started pulling while she was pushing.
and for the most part, every time I would really push, I was closing my eyes. But it just so happened that at one time I opened them, and this is really graphic, and gross, but it's a part of what happened, especially for our baby. There was just blood that shot out.
But the suction cup actually slipped off her head, and Dr. Darn fling back, and just the blood that was on the disc flew and like hit her in the face, like on the chin, and her scrubs.
I was mortified. I started apologizing. She didn't flinch. She
It
was
was
like,
like
don't worry about
It happens
it.
all the time.
And I'm just like, my blood is legit on your face. I couldn't comprehend it, which is why I'm on an OB.
So she literally just took the kiwi again, stuck it on her head, and then really the next like 2 pushes later, she came sliding out.
Yeah. The minute they said, you know, the baby's out, I lost it. I just started bawling. Like, instantly. And at that point, I had no idea if it was a girl or if it was a boy. And I'll be very honest, I didn't care. Like, I knew the baby was out. I heard the baby cry. I knew the baby was healthy from what I was hearing. So then when they actually said, it's a baby girl, the look on his face was like
I was shocked.
he couldn't believe it.
I was just convinced it was going to be a boy.
And a lot of people thought boy. So as everybody says, it was a big shock. But they literally, I guess it was maybe 10 seconds after she was born, she was on my chest for the skin to skin. Completely gooey.
Sticky.
Like not cleaned up at all. And she actually, she peed on me twice. Felt like a really hot sensation.
It'll be the first 2 of many, probably, as she gets older.
On like my whole chest belly area. And the nurses were funny. Our nurse was like, okay, like somebody needs to go talk to the grandparents because they are freaking out.
The grandmothers.
Apparently your dad was no better.
No.
And they were like, you know, we can send Jenna. And Keith's like, no, I'll go. And it sounded like he was going to start to cry, but then he didn't. So he went. I had the baby on me, and I was getting, my doctor was doing stitches.
I went out, and I actually had the camera with me. I went out and told him it was a girl. I'll show you the clip. We'll cut to that in a quick second. And it's funny because my mom's in the hallway, and she sees it come around. She goes, "Oh my God, what is it?" And she's literally jumping like into the room, like as I'm getting ready to tell him. It was funny to see.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Hurry!
Sit.
When he went back in, all they knew it was a girl. They didn't know weight, length, or name.
But we didn't. Well, we knew the name obviously, but we didn't know the size. They were still. They didn't measure her yet. They didn't weigh her yet.
So then when he came back in, maybe within 10 minutes, the nurse was like, okay, they're still freaking out because they don't know anything. So then he had to go back out.
So after going out, I gave them the name, gave them the measurements and everything. And of course, they're freaking out. They're excited. My dad, being my dad, was like real nice. He really wanted a grandson. Just didn't happen this time. But that's my dad's just a ball buster. That's how he is. So they were all getting anxious because they still had to clean the baby up. They had to clean Jen up, and it took a while. It took another hour or so after the fact.
She was born at 4:16, and I would say we were wheeling out of the room by 5:30.
Yeah. But it was pretty crazy watching them. They're cleaning her up. They're wiping her down. They're getting on the scale. The little heating table thing. Meanwhile, she's getting cleaned up, and that's why there's, once again, being graphic, there's just blood. I mean, it's what happens. And we're kind of just talking about it, and the nurse's like, "Oh, this is normal. This is never day amount." I'm like, okay. I mean, the whole trick was, I never saw them panic, so I knew there was nothing wrong. There was nothing out of the ordinary. So I always watch what their facial expressions and how they're reacting to things. I mean, they were all top notch. They really were.
Yeah. Remember his phone actually went off
Yeah.
And it was his father basically complaining
That we're taking
what's
too
taking
long.
so long.
Like, I got places to go today. I'm very busy. Meanwhile, he was there for a couple hours afterwards with us. Not like he was going anywhere. Yeah, eventually we got wheeled out. Stopped in the first room. It's split. There's like the labor side and the recovery side. So we went in the recovery side, and there's a standard room. And I was really hoping to have my own bed. And they're kind of hesitant because it was like the older style room, aka no wallpaper and tile floor or linoleum floor. And I was like, we don't care what the room looked like. It was nice because we got a basically double-sized room, and it was better for all the family when they came in. But yeah, it was like I said, the whole experience there was just seeing everything was just crazy. It really was. And she was thinking just gonna be a sheet over me, be covered. Nope, everything's out in the open. But I mean, it's an everyday occurrence for the nurses, so it's nothing new to them. But I think we're gonna wrap up this video. Tomorrow or Thursday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nailing those days now. We'll kind of do like it'll be exactly a week since she was born. We'll do a weekly video. Not a weekly video, a weekly recap. Just a quick video, and I'll jump in some other videos that we shot during the week. I want to do more videos, but it's just been so crazy with everyone coming over, and there's just no time to do anything. We're constantly running around someplace, but we'll get those going. And like I said, subscribe, thumbs up, leave comments below, and before we head out, we'll show you baby Jules and all her gloriness, and we'll see you next time.